There is no two sales that are the same. And as much as I can come and tell you, hey, this is what you can expect, it's just so different. So please talk to a professional. Let us into your home. Let me come in there. Let me smell it, see it, feel it. Like I do find that there's power in being inside someone's home and actually seeing it and then finding the value.
Welcome, everyone, to the Closing Table Podcast, real accounts of real estate professionals from across the nation, brought to you by WindowStill. I'm your host, Kat Schooler, and today I'm so excited to be sitting down with Marissa Mayberry of Remax Platinum, based out of Fenton, Michigan. How you doing, Marissa?
I'm doing really good today.
Thank you for being here with me today. Let's just jump right in with how you got started in real estate.
All right, how I got started in real estate. So about 13 years ago, I would say, one of my dad's friends, I had started working at the country club, and he noticed how outgoing I was, and he said, hey, I think you would be a great real estate agent. So I actually started with him at our old Remax office, and I would work about 10 to 12 hours a week, and I felt like I did nothing but pushed papers around, and I did get paid for it. And then I just started getting more involved, meeting everybody. Remax really was awesome to me. So then I started working at the front desk. So I did work the front desk for about 2 years while also helping Brian as his assistant. And it probably only took about 2 years, and I was like, I'm ready to do this. I want to be a realtor. I want to help all my friends. I was at the perfect age, my early 20s, where friends were getting married and buying houses. And so I went for it. I passed my real estate exam on the first try, which, if you've taken it, it's not easy to do. And I started on a team with the guy that I was assistant for. And quickly I kind of branched out, and I've been a standalone agent now, licensed for coming up on 10 years.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got that 10-year mark.
I know. It feels crazy because it's like, how have I been doing this for 10 years? And every year just seems like a whole new journey of learning and doing something different.
Right. Some of that, I'm sure, has to do with kind of the natural changes in
Yeah, I guess I never
life.
knew I was getting into a career that was so changed all the time, changed with the season, changed with elections, changed with if we're getting sued on different things, just forever changing.
Would you say that would be like the biggest surprise in this career for you?
Absolutely, yes. As much as I've tried to make it a very consistent thing, and even when I do all of my consistent things and have all my schedules in place and doing all my phone calls, there's nothing to ever say that, yes, you're going to sell this many houses this year or this sale is going to go this way. There's everything's gray all the time. But that's kind of fun, and that's kind of what I love. I'm a very ADD person. If I was doing the same job every single day, I would probably hate it. It also is probably why I don't have very thick hair, because the job does make me want to pull my hair out. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm helping people, and I know that they're in a home and they're happy and cozy and living in a happy home because I was able to help them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, kind of in regards to your systems and processes, that working in that office as an assistant kind of set you up to systematize your work as an agent?
Absolutely. The guy I assisted for was very unorganized. And so I kind of learned, yeah, I like checklists. I like to know when I'm turning in my pending paperwork, I want to know that it's all there. I don't want to have to go back 18 times and do it. And yes, I have realized the more I've gotten into real estate, you do tend to get almost lazy with the checklist. And then I always tend to revert back, though. And then I also think working the front desk gave me a lot of value in just learning what they do, what they go through, and how having all your paperwork and having everything ready for them just makes my job easy and makes their job easier. Checklists are
That's
my best friends.
oh yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I love a checklist. When you work with clients, kind of like what's your approach?
My approach would be is I just really like to listen to them. What are they trying to do? What is their motivation? Are they moving because now they want to be in property and they were in a subdivision? And I do a lot of working with sellers that are selling and then they're buying. So it's just making sure that they know too that you are a seller and yes, you want the most amount of money for your house, but you want it to look good because when you go as a buyer, you want that house to look good. So just kind of teaching them um, that it is important to always see both sides of the coin too. That you want to be a good seller and a good buyer.
What are some of the things you find yourself kind of saying to maybe sellers over and over again about making sure their house is ready for sale?
Just very minimizing. I think people don't notice the clutter or things in their home until you're like, hey, I love that you have 6 blankets on the couch, but while I'm coming for pictures, maybe the blankets on the couch isn't going to be, it's just cluttering the area versus making it look neat and clean. So just always letting them know, like, go and take as much out as you can and then go do it one more time. And I love your guys' list. Actually, I will say it's one of my favorite things. Your um, picture list. That's one of
Mm-hmm.
the favorite things I give to people because it has saved me so much time on. I can't tell you how much time I've spent in my life taking things off people's refrigerators. And it's just
Ooh.
things you don't think about. When you are showcasing a house, you don't want a refrigerator full of magnets and pictures and uh, yes, your kid's picture is beautiful, but that's not what we want to showcase. We want to showcase a very clean, minimalized home.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to this idea of like depersonalizing.
Yes.
And I feel like people think like a lot of people, and I think I'm included in this, we like to think like we're more like creative than we are like I can depersonalize it myself. I can just delete all the fridge magnets in
Mm-hmm.
my mind. But you can't. Like if you
You're
go in and
distracted.
there's
I mean, honestly,
there's
it's
yeah.
distracting, and I mean, I myself, like I said, I'm very ADD. I mean, I find myself when people do have pictures or their college diplomas on the wall, you end up peeking and looking at them when it's like, that's not what we're here to look at. We're here to look at the house, not where they graduated from.
Yeah, that's funny. I'd probably be reading the diplomas too. I'd be like, I didn't get a law degree. I can't live here.
Right? Yeah.
That's funny. What are some of your favorite stories from helping your clients buy and sell?
Oh man. Like one of my favorites, I would say, a best friend I went to school with I've known her since kindergarten. I was able to help them sell their house, and they actually moved in right next door to her parents. Which I love that story because I thought that was very cool. And now they live next to her parents, and they've got 3 kids, and so they've got the best babysitters. Although I will never get to sell either of those houses until one of them goes somewhere. The story of me buying my condo, selling my parents' home, and finding my parents a buyer was kind of a neat one. You know, I I was in my early 30s, so I'd only been in real estate 4 years, and I was starting to make money, but I wasn't in a position quite yet where I could get a mortgage, and especially
Mm.
not without selling my parents' house, which was going to give me what my down payment would be. So we had my parents' house listed. One of my friends had made mention numerous times when he would come over, I want this house. I want this house. I want this house. We lined it all up. I ended up finding the condos I wanted to be in. found a for sale by owner because there were none listed, got in, listed my parents' house. My friend ended up, I got it all figured out where he bought their house and I sold his house. There'd be enough wiggle room with commissions that he could buy my parents' house, my parents would be selling, and I could get my condo. And it literally all happened within like 30 days. The poor lady I was buying from, I was like, hi, I know I just met you and I know I just offered and you barely were ready to sell, but also I need you out in 30 days. And the way that it all just worked out was pretty awesome. And my friend got to live at my old house and he was happy as could be. And he got to be in the house he wanted. My parents ended up getting the money they wanted. And it was just a very crazy June and July because it only, like I said, it was a 30-day process and we sold 2 houses, bought a house, and whew, and it was very, very awesome. And now I love where I live and I feel like everything happened the way it should have.
It seems like it. And
Yeah.
I just can't imagine like how probably your shoulders were up at your ears, the whole time, just being like, it's just got to slot in just right.
Yes, it was like this person's house, we had to get his listed, make sure he got a good buyer, and make sure his buyer could move in when he needed to move in, and the lady could move out of my condo when I needed her to. And the way the stars aligned, I don't know if it would ever happen again, but the fact that it did makes me know I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Wow, we're really getting to the good part, and I can't wait for you to hear what comes next. But first, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to make sure you are following and subscribe to the Closing Table Podcast wherever it is you get your podcasts. Also, please leave us a comment or review. It is the best no-cost thing you can do for the podcast, and it helps us grow and find more awesome listeners like you. Now back to the episode. That's so great. What do you love about listings in your area, about working with clients in your area?
Well, my area has a lot of lakes, so that really is fun. We kind of have a little bit of rural area. We have a little bit of subdivisions. We have condos. I feel like I really get to sell it all and continuously help people. And even today, I do have a buyer. She bought a house about a year ago. It ended up not being where she wanted to be, and some of her life changed a little bit. And she actually just reached out to me, and she got a letter from the bank that they are allowing her to sell it for a specific number that they will be happy for. And it's kind of cool that it's been a year and she's been trying to figure things out. And here she reached out and she's ready for me to help her again. And so this is a whole different scenario. It's going to be my first pre-foreclosure I have going on. So, I mean, it's just wild because I've got a pre-foreclosure going on. I've got a little house coming up that's going to be affordable, which is nice because to see a house under $200,000 in our area, it's been quite a while to find anything like that. So that, I mean, it was nice to me to sell her. And I'm like, the most excited part I am is that there's going to be buyers and new buyers, young buyers that can finally afford something. It's not totally out of their price range. And then I have a link listing coming up. So it's definitely in our area, we get to do a little bit of everything, which is very cool. Like I said, because you've got the lakes, you've got the subdivisions, you've got acreage, and it's, like I said, no day is ever the same.
That's exciting. And I was going to say, like, I feel like that's like so Michigan, right? It's like
Right.
we just like have it all, but I'm sure there's one pocket in every state everywhere that thinks that they have it all too. But we're really cool here. um, Speaking of your clients, you have just about 55-star reviews on Zillow, which is awesome. How do you reach that level of client satisfaction?
I would say I'm very attentive. I hate to miss a phone call. The biggest joke at my gym is, what does that girl do? Because everybody always laughs that I always run out of the classroom and answer my phone. And I say right back to them, but hey, that's what makes me a good realtor. And just this past year alone, I had 3 sales just from my gym, just because they saw how I interact with people. Like I don't let a phone call be missed. I do find that to be so important. Be upfront, be communicative. And I really think that's just kind of it. I try to keep a positive attitude. I try to make everything easy for everybody. Let them know ahead of time what's coming up. Once again, I'm going to compliment your guys's sheet that you send before the pictures. Like, I just really think that has been so helpful that then they know the expectations, and I'm not showing up and all of a sudden we're trying to move trash cans, and they know the expectations ahead of time. I try to give them scenarios of, hey, this is what could happen, this is how your earnest money is going to work, this is a way you wouldn't receive it back, but you should receive it back if you do all these things. And just really open, honest, and communication. The easy stuff.
Yeah. It sounds so simple when you say
I
it
know,
like
right?
that.
It's so simple. Answering the phone.
And I think it goes a long way, and it clearly pays off because I like this is this is maybe like my worst trait. I am not one of those people who's like super motivated to write a review, right? But when I got married and I worked with all these amazing vendors, I was like, I've already given them my money, but now I can give them a review. Like, and I know
I
that.
love hearing that because I literally just said to someone this week that sadly, most people are willing to go leave a bad review before they're willing to leave a good review. If you go to a restaurant, you have a good experience, are you going to leave a review? Probably not, unless you had a wonderful experience or you were thinking about it. You go and you have a bad review. What's the first thing you do? Now you have a bad
Mm-hmm.
experience. You're putting on a bad review. And so I do know and I do appreciate all those reviews because I do know the chances of someone giving a positive review, you know, just to do it is like you said, it's just one more step you got to take. It's one more thing you got to do. But when you do actually have the good service and it's a way you can thank them, it's nice to do.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are more and more people out there that just didn't, don't take the time. But to have so many people take the time that's so exciting for you. And yeah, and it helps just build that trust before you even talk to people.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, reviews are helpful, people. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Next time you're thinking about it, just do it.
Yes.
It doesn't take as long as you think.
Yes, I do actually have
Um,
it. My last buyer, she was a young mom, couple kids, and I knew she was leaving right out of town. So now I'm like, all right, you got any free time to leave that review? Because she had an amazing experience. And so she should be leaving a good review.
do you want to tell us a little bit about her experience?
Yeah. So this is kind of cool. Actually, my lender here at my office, she had received a phone call from a young girl that was in kind of a bad situation and needed to get out and get a home for her and her two children. And it was kind of funny. She had started wanting to look more south, and this was the beginning of winter, and it was getting to be where we were driving 30 minutes away. It started off as she was going to be looking 15 to 20 minutes away, and then it just kept getting further. And I was like, I really like you, but I feel like I'm not being able to be a good realtor to you now that these houses they were starting to be over an hour away. And of course, it was
Mm.
during the snow, and like, oh my gosh, I can't drive an hour in the snow. And so it was kind of sad. At one point, I almost was going to refer her to someone else because it was just getting too far away, and I couldn't keep going another hour away. And then we'd go, and then we'd get a call that, oh, they already had an offer. So it was just a complete waste of time. So her and I kind of talked a little bit, and she didn't have a set place, and there happened to be a condo in my neighborhood that had came up, and it was way under her budget. And then, even a bigger blessing, the agent that listed it, I'm a Women's Council of Realtors member. I'm actually on the board. I'm their vice president. And he was our president of 2022. So him and I had this awesome communication and very good relationship. And basically, he listed it. He told me if my client wanted it, he would sell it to her for what it was listed for. And that was that. And even amazing yet, I mean, the appraisal came in 20,000, like over what she ended up getting the house for. So
Wow.
and it was his mother's house. So it was just great. And it was like, oh my God, out of all times for something like that to work out, it was amazing. And then now she gets to be my neighbor and my friend, and she's got these cute little girls. And I love that she's just right there. And I really think she ended up where she needed to be. She kept looking in a area that was just so much busier with not as great as schools. And it's like, oh my gosh, I really think she ended up where she wanted to be. And I'm really glad it worked out because I felt terrible for almost firing her because I wanted to be a good agent. I wanted to make sure, yeah, that day that house got listed today. We're going today. But like I said, over an hour away, that caused a challenge, and especially it'd be like one house an hour this way and another house an hour that way and another one 40 minutes that way, and it wasn't working out. So it was really amazing the way it worked out. And the one she had put an offer on, it would have been almost $50,000 more with $100 more HOA a month. It would have been terrible. And she ended up exactly where she needed to be. So that was
That's so
awesome.
great to hear. And gosh, you just love stories like that.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was, and just the fact that the other agent was just so awesome, and there wasn't this huge amount of greed, and it was that's how it should be. I mean, really, it's
Mhm.
we all want to work together. We all have a common goal, really, to be sitting at the closing table with
Yeah.
everybody happy, so that everybody can win.
And I think it takes a certain kind of like strength or maybe self reflection to kind of know when you're no longer, in your strength,
Yeah,
right? When almost had to refer her to someone else. And I'm so glad you were able to kind of bring her to the closing table on a different property. But I think that that kind of shows some real like, awareness and strength to know when it's time to kind of bow out.
yeah. I felt I wasn't able to deliver what I needed to deliver and get her to where she needed to be. And then, but in the end, it all worked out. And she was like, "No, I don't care. I'll just start looking closer to where you are." But like I said, it ended up working in the best. She's closer to her job. She's closer to the father. And now her sister, who's living with her, gets to walk downtown and go work. So it really just worked out all for the best.
That's great. When people are kind of maybe unfocused is a good word for it, are there kind of things you do to maybe help them narrow their focus?
Yes. So you say unfocused, I say unmotivated, but I think
Okay.
yours is probably yours is probably right because I would say this has been my year of it's been a little bit slower of a year for me, and but yet I've had many phone calls. I've talked to many people. I've showed houses. I remember in January I went for a women's council event up in Traverse City, and I could not get home fast enough to show these. I had a new listing appointment. I thought two houses to show. Well, I mean, like I said, ran home, get all this stuff done. None of the three worked out. The
Mm,
one buyer, they will buy eventually. They're a very specific need buyer. So they will buy eventually, but the focus or motivation isn't there. They're motivated. They want another bedroom. But what they have is pretty darn good. So unless it's better, there's not a real hard motivation. So yes, they're motivated, they're focused, but they're not highly motivated. And then the other guy, he was going to buy, he had this great idea. He wanted to buy each of his kids a house so that when they got older, they could rent them out or start renting them out now and start getting some funds. And So he was pretty hot and heavy for a second, but it wasn't he wasn't very focused. He was kind of focused on, oh, I like this idea. I like to make money, but he wasn't motivated enough because it wasn't like the children needed the house. It was so the motivation wasn't quite there. So he kind of fell off, and then I think he also realized that sadly, even in this market, this particular house had 8 inches of water in the basement, and it still went for $20,000 over what it was listed
Oh
because
my.
the others found the potential of the flipping and the so that was very interesting. And then the other client that I went over for a listing appointment, and I thought we were signing that day. I thought the motivation was there. They had reached out numerous times, told me they wanted to build, so I knew they had a plan. Well, as they're learning, it is not in any way really cheaper to build, and they're kind of finding out that acreage is a little bit more expensive than what they were expecting. I actually do have an email back from them today that I haven't read, so I've just kind of with them. You could tell they weren't exactly on the same page, husband and wife, is as for sure what they wanted to do. So I'm just trying, I'm letting the ball be in their court a little, but yet letting them know that I'm here. Maybe you aren't going to be able to build. But what if we find a property with the same amount of acreage that you are looking for because you want acreage, and maybe the house just needs $50,000 put into it, and then you can make it your dream home. So I'm trying to help them, find out some different options where maybe what their initial motivation and focus was may not be exactly what happens, where they should maybe pivot a little bit. So yeah, so it's just keeping. I mean, of course, our best buyers and sellers are the ones that are motivated, focused. I got to see if I can change it to focused and not motivated. But
I guess I think why focus came to mind for me is like I I know for myself, I like to do the homework. Like I was always like a good student. So whether it came to like picking out my engagement ring, which my husband and I did together because I have a lot of strong opinions and or like our wedding or things like that. And and now we're starting to look at homes and I like to do the homework part of it. But I think maybe a lot of people like don't. And so then they just they want to see the buffet, right? And the buffet has so many options and it has things that you can afford and $3 million homes,
mm-hmm.
and most people are not going to buy a $3 million home.
Yes. So yeah, no, I mean, and that's why pre-approvals are so important. And you've got some people that are like, "Oh, well, I know I'm good." And I'm like, "Yes, but you don't exactly know your debt to income. You don't exactly with interest rates being higher, your house payment may look different than what you thought it would have a year ago." So yeah, that's why we very, very, very encourage pre-approvals. Keep them on target. Look within this range that you can afford. Let's not be looking at houses that we can't afford. That doesn't do anybody good. Nobody likes looking at an Escalade and then having to go buy, I don't know, a Blazer, which is what
Yeah,
I drive.
uh-huh.
So
No.
not dissing the Blazer.
Nothing wrong with a practical car, okay?
That's right. No, I'm much more, I'm like, I would rather have a good car payment than 3 times the amount for a car that does the same thing.
Especially with Michigan roads, like let's be real.
Yeah, right. Yes, I had my first pop tire experience this winter, which was terrible.
Oh, it's no fun.
Yes. And I'm like, wait, my insurance doesn't cover this. I have to still pay for the tire.
Okay, here's my hot tip. Has nothing to
Okay.
do with real estate, but some places will insure your tire, like discount tire. I don't know, something worth looking into.
Okay. Nice to know. Thank you for the
It's
tidbit.
not that expensive. That's my tip.
Your
I
two
don't know if
cents.
they're nationwide, but you should do that if you live in Michigan. Um, If you were to start over in real estate today, knowing everything that you know, what would you do differently in the beginning?
I definitely would be better about the CRM and getting everybody's names, phone numbers, emails, having them in a system so that you are never forgotten about. I mean, and just having even the mail outs. And that is definitely something that was not my strong suit, still isn't my strong suit. But it's definitely something that I keep on wanting to be better at because you're like, oh, yeah, I remember those people 8 years ago. Well, you want to make sure they remember you too. So that's yeah, I definitely would have done a better job of keeping names, numbers, and a better system of it because I think it would have been easier than trying to put like the 300 in now.
Yeah. Do you have a system you like to use now?
Remix, we just rolled out, it's called KV Core, and I've been really trying to get involved with that because I do like how it can give people property updates about what's going on in their area and what's going on in their subdivisions. And it's really a kind of place it and it just does it itself. It's not even something that I have to particularly do. The clients can go on there, and if that's something they're interested in, like seeing, everybody loves to talk real estate. Everybody thinks they know what's going on, and everybody wants to know what the neighbor's house sold for. So I do think that is a very, um, yeah, I don't know where it's going with that.
Oh, yeah. No, just like that's been super helpful as your CRM. That's cool to
Yes,
know.
yes, 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 yes. That has been very helpful. And it gives me a little thing every day. You should call this person today. And it tells me their birthday and their anniversary and all the little tidbits that I should be doing.
Oh, well, that's so
Isn't
cool.
that cool? Yeah.
That's like, talk about hitting the easy button, right?
Yeah. And it just does it for you. So it's just getting it in there and getting the easy button hit.
Neat.
Yeah.
What are some things you're looking forward to this year?
I'm looking forward to our spring market. I do think, real estate's changing a little bit. And there's been so much talk on the news, and I'm really excited to see how us good agents follow up and keep the market going the way it has been, and um, and explaining to our sellers why it's important to pay a selling agent, why it's important to pay a buyer's agent, and why, there are the two different parties and why we protect each, different party. Like I just had someone say to me yesterday, well, don't, if you have the listing, don't you want the buyer too? And my argument always is it is very hard to represent both people. Yes, there are times it works out if everybody has the common goal of, Mr. Seller wants to sell it and buyer doesn't care. Buyer wants it for whatever price it's worth, or they want to sell it at, it works. And yes, but you're really always only representing one party. It is very hard to have two different people's best interests when, my seller, I want to get you the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time, and buyer, I want to get you a good deal in a nice home. Like I said, sometimes it does work out for both, but I think it's going to be a fun year of just educating people and letting them know why we are important, why they need us, and how we can help them. And hopefully
Yeah,
summer
that's,
gets kicked off here soon.
yeah. If there was one thing you wanted to people to know about real estate that they don't see, what would that be?
Just that it's once again, it's gray. There is no black and white. There is no two sales that are the same. And as much as I can come and tell you, hey, this is what you can expect, your furnace might be 2 years old, where the last house I sold, the furnace was 20 years old, where the other house I sold might have a boiler, where, everything is just so different. So please talk to a professional, hear from them, let us into your home. If you are thinking about selling your house, let me in there. Don't just tell me, oh, yeah, I have this, I have that. Let me come in there. Let me smell it, see it, feel it. Like I do find that there's power in being inside someone's home and actually seeing it and then finding the value versus just, not.
Totally, because I think everybody thinks that they have the nicest house on the block, and they just might. But we
In the last 5 years, what are some major updates you've done? And, then they'll be like, well, we changed the hardware on our cabinets. I'm like, well, that's great. But what I really meant was, did you get a new roof, a new water heater, a new, and it is cute what people, and it is always awesome to hear the pride and ownership and the things that people do to their houses too. Or, they'll think because they changed all the doorknobs that's gonna, all of a sudden bring them all this value. And yes, it helps show better, it helps look better, but you telling me you changed all the doorknobs may not be why I up your house another $5,000. So it's interesting what people, their perception of what's giving them value. Or, right now, one of the houses I'm getting ready to sell, they're like, well, we don't need as much curb appeal. We're on a lake. And I'm like, no, you want them standing there at the water looking back at the home thinking, I can't live anywhere else. I have to live here. This is the home. So just really trying to explain to people too that the curb appeal always is important. And like we said earlier, keeping things minimalized and letting people come in and picture how they would live there.
Totally. Well, Marissa, thank you so much for being with us today. Would you like to direct people how they can find you and work with you?
Yes, everybody. I am Marissa Mayberry at Remax Platinum here in Fenton. My cell phone number is 810-275-5980. And my website is agentm3.com. And really just give me a call or a text and I will definitely answer.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marissa.
Yes, thanks, Kat.
Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to Nick because he's my favorite photographer.
Oh, shout out to Nick. Awesome.
Shout out to Nick. He's the best.
Thank you.
Get to see him. I actually get to call him here shortly because I think I'm going to need to see him before our next appointment that we have in 2 weeks.
That's awesome. Well, we're so glad that you use us here at WindowStill. It means a lot to us.
Yes, I love you guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for watching. This has been the Closing Table Podcast brought to you by WindowStill. I'm Kat Schooler. If you're enjoying this podcast, please make sure you are following us. You have liked, you've subscribed, you've done all the things, you've rated, you've reviewed it. It helps us find more awesome listeners like you. We will see y'all next time.